that battle theme. Welcome back to another chapter of the Yakuza saga. Last time, the women, well, actually, the Saiyans, haven't found any traces of Dominique and Wong, which is good because the Yakuza weren't able to find them either. Not even Ko, who was leading the Yakuza through Fate, the Fate Bar, as well as Sion and Dominique's former homestead. And meanwhile, Sion was leading another Yakuza group through Wong's territory. And so far, because in the previous chapter, since the refugees escaped to the lookout, they were completely unable to find them, especially Doragon. So, they're on the pursuit for his sister again. But this is the third part of the Trifecta, and this one involves the ladies trapped in Mikado. Let's hope these guys are safe, especially from Volt, who is gonna pursue them. Alright, part 3 of the Trifecta starts here. With our heroines trapped in Mikado, would they be saved with the arrival of the Z Fighters? Or would it be too late as they would suffer under the Yakuza's and Doragon's domination? Chapter 6, Mikado's mind-controlling method. This could be a long one. The ladies eventually made their way out of the opaque chute via the militant's communicator utilizing its bright LSD screen. They came across a light wrought steel door that was supposed to be made by titanium alloy. Together they were able to move it a notch and went out to the silver light. The narrow hallway's fluorescent lights blinded the group. They followed it with Echidna leading the way. It came through a tannish door. There was a room used to house all the uniforms from Mikado's special forces, but instead, these racks were replaced by numerous nameless human subjects entangled by thick wires with blood and certain fluids coursing through their veins, including their heads. Very creepy. Ayame began to stutter at the gruesome sight. Even Echidna herself wasn't expecting this. I feel so sorry for them right now. Since Echidna knew the ways around Mikado, she led Ayame and Leann despite them trying to keep themselves from going insane at all those crude experiments they'd passed inside the bioplant. From having the Yakuza clones to trapped inactively in stasis tubes to their bodies dropping into them from the chutes aloft, then have them wrapped in wires by mechanical arms while also making incision sites in their limbs and necks. They went through some familiar though cringy scenery. Thought came to Echidna of Magetsu going through lobotomy as a way to make subjects more obedient and submissive and have the subjects' fighting instincts to be enhanced, while also causing their minds to degrade in the process. She desperately hoped that Volt, Sion, and Ko hadn't gotten through this, though Leann doubted they could have over a short period of time. Maybe they had some neurotransmitters implanted into them? They both shrugged at the theory. They pressed on. Ayame also hoped their bodies hadn't been reproduced into clones. Her mind started to drift as she remembered the atrocious PD4 she faced, as well as Chaldea and a bizarre panther hybrid. She also wondered if the real Chaldea was actually burned alive in the fiery accident, where her clone body lived on as a more loyal servant to Doragon, while also restoring her memories little by little. Then again, the pendant was an inclination it couldn't have happened. Yet still, the fact the bouncers could be carbon copies was a possibility. Unfortunately, the women's reveries were interrupted by some Yakuza ambushes. Then they utilized the same techniques as before, even with those that had sharper, lethal weapons such as those curved cutlasses. Her mind still racing, unsure where to go, Leann's comm suddenly increased its signal strength, showing several bars. She signaled them to stop and she vigorously typed on it. Through the Lucas officer's impressive hacking skills, her fingers were flying across the tiny keypad. She managed to receive some intel concerning Mikado's more quicker methods, just after calling back up to headquarters via distress signal. The screen were mountains of deciphered encrypted data, and Leann showed it all to her desperate teammates as soon as they reached a chamber surrounded by massive doors with card case locks. They had reached the laboratory prep room, and Leann gave the wary women the following information. With Project A3, it was a brainwashing weapon of some kind. Small electronic transmitter implanted on the neck or any portion on the head. The machine would be able to manipulate the subject by setting a certain kind of electric wave into an area of the brain known as the gator's cortex. The most primitive behaviors can be initiated there. With that way, Leann came to the conclusion the A3 project was capable of destroying the mind and forcing the experiment into acting entirely out of instinct rather than reason, causing their fighting attributes to increase while they became demoralized. Like the Borg and the Cutis. Upon further examination, the gator cortex allowed humans to do basic actions, such as eating, sleeping, killing, or escaping. This portion hid deep within the vast human subconscious was titled as such, based on a gator hiding in a swamp awaiting for its prey to attack, then retaliate aggressively. The biological product initiates the body's natural electric current into the section, turning it into a certain kind of radio wave. By directing this into the brain, it was possible to stimulate these actions voluntarily upon the master's requests. By trading their natural impulses for the radio ignition, this produces hallucinations that are permanent, causing a total loss of sanity in the subjects. Just like Miketsu! Shouldn't have feared the worst. The process would be irreversible, and the permanent shell of its former self, a zombie-like being no less. Leann guessed if the transmitter can actually be damaged or disabled soon enough. She then fed the intel to her superiors and subordinates as emergency to save her and Co., never labeling him as a mindless slave. Both she and Echidna decided it was official each bouncer had a certain bullet-shaped implant somewhere in their bodies, connecting to their brains. Once the link has been found and destroyed in time, chances are they would revert to their normal selves without any extreme damage. However, in order to perform the body searches, they must be sedated first, which won't be easy. Echidna recalled PD4 having some sedatives at his disposal. However, they were no longer around. The executive floor, they heard a hissing noise accompanied Ayame figured to belong to a monstrous cobra. Like that sound effect in Aladdin, actually. The beast treaded behind the unsuspecting trio. It snuck silently across the red carpet, covering the majority of the floor. By the time it let out another hiss, though, its tongue grabbed and yanked the power pole out of Ayame's hands. Their old nemesis was back, and it swallowed the weapon down its gullet like a carvener's snake. You're gonna pay for what you did to my power pole! Well, if it isn't that slithering bastard itself. Ready for round 2, Chimera? Humanoid reptilian had some moves. Its saggy, fleshy sleeves had its adhesive, lightning-fast tongue enabled to stick and extend to make the monster reach higher and more distant grounds. Even as a counter-move when it rammed into its enemies, they had to either brace themselves or move aside whenever it charged in for the kill. It was nothing the woman couldn't handle. When Echidna continued to use her unpredictable capoeira, Leann made swift blows. Ayame had to improvise using her ki blasts for long-range attacks as well as blocking. Her stamina was wearing thin, so she had to rely on her buddies before she'd pass out from fatigue. Eventually, the mutant's legs started to buckle. The young Z-Fighter just pounced on its stomach after it was knocked on its back, when it finally vomited the pole. Ugh! The liquor look-alike just laid there like a lifeless slug, as more of its insides began to drool out of its mouth. She reluctantly grabbed for her lost weapon. It dripped some more. It's about time we put an end to him. Feral fiend. I bet that gave you quite a stomach ache, did it? The three women were grouped, though something was amiss. Ayame's ki sense kicked in once more, and the signal was weak toward the next room. This can't be the way. I can feel the darkness stronger over there. We need to go back. What? Are you crazy? Relax. We didn't go all this way for nothing, hot stuff. If she could sense Ko as well as the others. They followed her lead, Echidna tagging along, more fumed than ever. Of course the commanding officer had to keep an eye on her, comforting Ayame before she get a chance to pwn her. The process of making the miniature mind control device was inspired by Strider, actually. I never really played the series much, except for the original Genesis game. And Grandmaster Mayo used to make biological weapons out of humans aside from cloning, much like Mikado. And the brain generally operates the gator cortex, basics, actions, yada yada yada. Never got too far in the series. I can't believe I've forgotten this. But Ayame would use his power pole to reach from place to place like Link would use his long shot. I can't really come up with some good Trinity rushes, and I can't find taunts for Leann and Echidna, so I guess I'm stuck. So another chapter done. Hopefully I'll do the next one soon. Whew, I'm so glad I'm done with this Trifecta. So, until we meet again, guys,